Welcome to the Arcfluence Podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Kirakan, your host, and with me again this week is Paul Fatkins, my business partner and co-host. Welcome, Paul.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it is good to be here. It's always weird to do these in the middle of the day, though.
I think it's going to become the norm because we're not going to be taking our Saturdays anymore for this if we can help it, right? We want to try to integrate it into the workday.
That, and we're also changing and adapting some of the guests that we're having on. So I think just scheduling them, tends to work out where it's like during the week in the middle of the day. But
well, speaking of guests, we had a great guest today. And Emily Hall, president of CVG, we actually met her in Boston at the AIA convention.
Yeah. Another Boston, meetup where it was like they were offering some audits, and we happened to get Emily in the people that were available to talk to. But it was great to make that connection at Boston.
What a wealth of knowledge! So we're going to dig in today about coaching architecture firms in general. When you're a smaller firm, and there's a lot of struggles to deal with. As listen, if you want to grab a beer, we could talk forever about this, but we're going to dig into what her firm does and how she helps small and medium-sized firms grow. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited to start this one.
Let's get into it. Emily, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you both again.
Yeah. So it's been a month or so since Boston.
It feels like a month or so. It's probably been longer.
It's probably been longer. We've just been working, and when you're working, you're having so much fun, and time flies.
Yep.
So hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. We obviously met in a professional environment. You were consulting on our small architecture firm, and this is what you do. So
we were at the conference for the national conference for AIA, and they had like 15-minute windows, I believe. So we signed up and kind of met Emily there to just have a quick chat about our firm and get some of her insights. But that's where we met. So it was definitely very enlightening, even though it was a really short snippet. And so we invited her on the podcast. Emily, thank you so much for coming on. But we're excited to get into this.
Thank you. Yes, we do those audits. We call them performance audits at AIA every year. So we have 15-minute windows, 30-minute windows where you can just swing by a booth and ask all your burning business questions. And my team at CVG is staffing those, and we have some really great conversations. It also helps us really get kind of our finger on the pulse of what the issues are every given year. We get different trends, different issues that people are struggling with. Next year, I'm sure we'll be there. So swing by.
I'm excited for San Diego.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's, very based on what's going on with the market, what's going on in the political environment, and, just people's concerns in general about how to run and operate their business. You're probably fielding all kinds of questions all across the board, right?
Yeah, and I wish we had a crystal ball for some of them, but a lot of it is best practice, right? It's a lot of it is knowing how to stay the course, and it's the same thing we advised during COVID, right? It's just there's certain things that are unpredictable, but running a business well can be predictable, right? You can do certain things to decrease your risk and decrease your volatility. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I haven't even answered the question.
Yes, I was going to say, why don't you go into a little bit of your background? How did you get involved in this space? Like, what was your, I'm going to transition over and start things. You're the president of your company, correct?
Yeah. So I'm the president of CVG, and we're a management consulting firm that works exclusively with architects and landscape architects and interior designers. Small and mid-sized firms. So we really kind of specialize in that space of under 100 people, right? Most of our clients are firms between 10 and 30 people. So it's kind of a special space. And I have a design background and a business background. So I went to school for industrial design and then also went and got my MBA at night. So I've always been a hybrid professional between loving the design world and design language and loving to work with designers, but also loving the business side of it. So I've been working on the business side of architecture firms for the last for over 20 years. And I've held almost every job in an architecture firm there is to be had. I started as a receptionist right after grad school at an architecture firm. So because I was working on a side project, designing some products. And I said, I just need a super easy job and clock out at 5 and get back to my studio.
Yeah.
That seemed easy enough, right? And then eventually, as tends to happen in a small architecture firm, more and more things kind of get thrown at you. You start wearing more hats.
Please do this. Please wear 5 hats.
Yeah. 10 or 20. Yeah. As many as you can wear. Here, have it.
Totally. And I'm like a gap filler, right? So I can see what needs to be done and be like, okay, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. And one thing leads to another. And then I have a different title and then a different title. And, 17 years later, I'm a senior associate. And, I just kind of can look at a firm and see what needs to be done, right? And kind of have that design and business mentality. So fast forward to maybe 7 years ago, Todd Redding, our CEO from CVG, reached out to me because a rebrand that I worked on with my architecture firm, my company I was working for at the time, Union Studio, won a national award for a rebrand. And Todd was doing some due diligence about starting this new consulting firm. So he reached out to me. He basically called anybody in the architecture space that would take his call, which is funny because he was not an architect and he was part of this startup, this architecture consultancy called CVG. And I took his call, and it was probably the best call I ever took because whatever was going on that day must not have had a deadline. Yeah. I don't know. I picked up the call and I started talking to him. He was asking me all these questions about, the business of architecture, what I liked about small firms. So we started a great friendship. And over the years, he would call when I had questions. We would touch base. And eventually, I kind of got tired of doing proposals, every, at a small firm, if you're in a marketing and BD role, there's nobody else to do them like you were doing. You were just cranking out proposals.
That is correct.
I was just kind of done with that. And geographically, I wanted to make a move. So I reached out to Todd and I said, do you know anybody who's looking for a full-time marketing director? And he said, I've got a better idea. Would you be willing to join CVG and consult with our clients in a marketing capacity? So I did that, and a few years started to build the team, hire other marketing specialists, and we started a branding division. So we called Creative Studio, and just kept getting really talented people into the team, and from all over the country and the world, frankly, because we're all remote. So
there's no home base.
Iowa is the home base.
Okay.
It is the leadership, but I've never been there. I'm going next month. But the thing is, we're still virtual. Like this isn't just a COVID thing. We have been since we were founded in 2015, because we figured that was the best way to get the best talent, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what do you move to Iowa? Nothing against Iowa, but not everybody wants to. It isn't geographically specific, right? You want people of all different talents from all over the country and the world.
And if you're set up that way as well on the client side, again, you can take a client from anywhere and consult with them. Doesn't matter if they're in California or Ohio or Massachusetts. It's like no problem. Come over. We'll have a conversation.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious. How many people are at CVG now?
I think we are at 22. We also have a bookkeeping division, and that's 3 or 4 employees right now as well. But I think we're 22.
Awesome.
I think I was number 3 or 4, but we've grown pretty quickly in the last several years.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And Iowa is a lovely state, by the way.
Well, I'll find out next month.
Yeah.
Certainly some of my favorite colleagues are from Iowa, so
yeah, well, you'll have to report back and let us know your thoughts. So I've been there once or twice, but it's like passing through. I've never actually been there on any kind of serious
I have
trips.
some close friends who live there, and I've been there several times, but lovely state.
Yeah.
So you're president of CVG. You guys are consulting many architectural firms, and I consider that mid-size because you're at if you're over like 10, I'm considering you a mid-sized firm, but apparently I'm being educated, which is great. We're not quite there yet. Right now there's probably 3 full-timers, and then we have a couple part-timers here and a small 1099 team. So we're growing our firm as well. But I love to kind of dig into what are some of the common, holdups that you see in these small to mid-sized firms that are typical that you consult on.
Yeah. And obviously, like you said before, some of it is kind of the time, right? So some of it might be related to like, tariffs or economy right now or something like that. But just kind of curious, you're in a broad sense, like your input on some of the trends that you're seeing.
Sure. Many are timeless. With small firms, right? You're doing so much, you don't have time to focus on the business. You're so busy doing actual architecture and dealing with client work and client headaches, and you're not spending enough time on the business, on business development, on systems, on invoicing. Actually, you should always have a bookkeeper do that. That's no job for a principal. But in general, you're not you're focused. You're working in the business and not on the business. And that's what we see a lot of. And it's completely understandable. There's, you want to do architecture. That's what you went to school for. You didn't go to school for business development and being out schmoozing and stuff. But,
yes. Yeah.
But, there's also, we hear so much the feast or famine. And when you're in that size, especially between about 5 and 10 people, that feast or famine feeling is so palpable, right? Like it's, all of a sudden you're too busy and then you're not busy enough. And then you're too busy and not. And the reason why that's so impactful at that size, at the smaller mid-size, if you're a sole proprietor, you can really control the valve pretty well, right? Like take a project, don't take a project. That's a relatively easy decision. But if you have staff to support, you're always thinking about making payroll in 6 months. That's a concern. So when you're that size, between 5 and 10-ish, if an employee gives notice, if a job abruptly stops, if any kind of staffing or project related unpredictability,
that's a bad day.
Yeah.
It's a bad day. It has huge ripple effects. So you're a little larger, you have more cushion, right? You've got more people that can step up. You've got more clients. You've got coming in from other projects.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've been at larger firms, and yes, exactly that, where it's like the one client, like for COVID, for example, we had an entertainment client and they're like, that's it. We're done right now. Stop everything. So literally they called and it was just like, stop everything. And so we had to pivot and, like you said, a larger firm, there's other clients, there's other things to do. So a lot of our team from the entertainment side switched over to actually do grocery because grocery at that time was going crazy. So it was like, again, easy enough to pivot. But yeah, if you're a small firm, you might not have something in your back pocket to just pivot to. So yeah, I've worked for smaller firms and larger firms, and I've seen everything that you're talking about. Agree 100% for sure.
And that's where growth becomes a really important decision, right? That's when you're thinking, once you get over that $1 million threshold in revenue, you've just got a lot more buffer in a lot of different ways. I mean, you have a different type of headache often, but it's not that panic, right? Ideally, it's not that same sense of panic as you might have when you're a smaller firm. So we often work with firms that say, to say, all right, let's grow sustainably and intentionally and kind of get you out of the weeds here at this size, which is just an awkward stage. So however, some firms absolutely love it, and they love the intimacy of being a team of 7. And that's great. It's just, you can make that work. It's just, we tend to focus on firms that want to grow, build systems, build a structure, and increase their revenue. And
significantly.
But growth can mean different things too, right? It doesn't just mean more bodies and chairs. It can be growth, can be profitability. It can be maintaining the same staff, but doing things more efficiently, so you're making more money. Growth can be professional growth within the firm and giving people career opportunities that they might not see. Growth can be growing the size of your firm, so you do grow your revenue. I mean, growth can mean a lot of things. So when CVG talks about let us help you grow your firm, we're saying like let's get in alignment with getting you beyond where you are right now, or getting you out of your own way. Often is a phrase that we hear, is we can't get out of our own way, or we're stuck. A lot of firms come to us and they're like, we're stuck. We've got more people and more projects, but we're still making the same amount of profit. So basically they're spinning their wheels, right? They're just doing
Right.
more of the same to make the same amount of money at the end of the year. And, that's,
Yeah, if I'm going to make the
that's,
same amount of money, let's do less.
yeah, exactly. More headache, right? More headache. But, yeah. So
Do you find, so like you talk about like people getting out of the way, do you find that it's like an issue of like them finding time to basically like put some of these systems in place, or is it some, or I don't know,
They just
do you
don't
see
know. They just don't know.
they don't know, or you see a variety of things, like maybe it's the person sometimes where it's like if it's going to be done right, I have to do it
I
myself.
can't let go of this.
I can't let go of it. Like, I guess what are some of the barriers that you see? Like, is it a time thing? Is it a person thing where it's like, I can't let go of it?
everything you just said.
Yeah. All of the above.
Clearly-
A, B, C,
Clearly,
D.
you are an architect. You just basically said everything that we hear. But
Yeah.
yes, some of the key things that we see are wrong people, wrong seats, or somebody's a control freak. I know nobody knows any architects who are control freaks, right?
Not here.
Yeah.
And,
No egos. No egos.
that's let me do that, let me redo that, it'll be faster if I just do it because I know how. There's a lot of that, and lack of delegation, not having the right people in the right seats, right? At every level you should be working at your highest and best use. And I know that's really silly to say when you're a firm of 5 people, because everybody's wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
But that's where we're like, outsource your bookkeeping. You shouldn't be doing your invoicing. You shouldn't be paying your vendors. You can pay somebody, $80 an hour to do that, and then they're going to do it better and faster than you. Number one. Train your staff so that they can really pick up red lines. You shouldn't be picking up red lines if you have a production team or anybody is a junior designer. Making sure that everybody's doing what they should be doing to the degree that it's appropriate in a small firm, right? So that's one. Getting out of the weeds, which is being able to pull yourself away from your project and think about your business for ideally a few hours a week, if not more, that you can really spend thinking about the next steps for the business and doing leadership related things, making sure everybody's everything's informed about the job. Everybody knows the budget.
So if I'm laying in bed at 10 o'clock at night thinking about these things, it's probably a bad time to be doing that.
We all do that. That's
Yeah,
just human nature. That's human nature. But doing less of it, that's our goal, is to have our clients do less of that. Because where we step in is we can be a voice where somebody's like, I'm having this staffing issue, it's driving me crazy. And they can call us for coaching, advice, best practices, whatever. And that's very helpful. Very few of us have these kind of business coaches that we can call with issues like this. So control freak, getting out of the weeds so you can work on your business. Let's see, what are some other common ones that we see? Oh, conflict avoidance. Now, this is just a human thing. This isn't unique to architects, but if I ignore this problem, it will go away. If I ignore this annoying client, they'll stop calling. If I don't, if I have a personnel issue, I don't need to, if I just don't talk to them directly about it and I get passive aggressive with them, maybe they'll figure out that they're doing it wrong. Even between partners, conflict avoidance, like, oh, I'm so mad that my partner isn't doing as much business development as I am.
I think I have the opposite problem where I'm over aggressively direct.
That's haven't worked with you, Nick, but I think in
Yeah.
general, I'd rather see that in a business than the other.
Yeah, I think it's true. It's communication for me is always something that's key. It's good to know what's going on. Like you said, avoiding something is not going to fix the problem, right? It's like, let's have a conversation. Let's get things on paper. Let's get things documented and go from there and try and figure it out. I mean, if you're just sitting in the weeds because something's difficult or complex to deal with, yeah, I agree. It's not a good strategy to try to move forward on something. So yeah, communication is always like a central pillar for me.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and not every firm has that all the time, right? I mean, we all know how teams change, vibes change. You know, it's just like with any relationship, it takes a lot of work, and everybody has to kind of bring it, right? And everybody has to be willing to do the work. But that's where we see the most functional firms and partnerships, is when there always will be issues. It's just how they deal with it, right? And being able to air that and speak respectfully to each other, even when you're under stress. Again, life lessons.
That's interesting. It's interesting because obviously the whole point for us going on our own is so that we can, if you don't like the environment you're in, create your own. So that was my philosophy. And now we're actually starting to create a culture, and man, it's a lot more complex than I realized because everybody is different.
Well, and I think Emily kind of touched on it too. Like, no matter what, there's always something, right? I think some people maybe have the thought, well, if I just tweak this or that, I eliminate all problems, everything's good. The world is wonderful. The sky is blue and it's never cloudy or rainy, right? Well, I think, like she said, there's always something to deal with. And as you grow, it just changes, on what you're dealing with, but it's always something.
Well, I like problem solving. Like, give me problems. Problems pay money. So when we can solve problems, we make money. I guess the question is like, now that we're kind of getting into our era of creating a culture, and that's something I've never done before. Do you have any advice on where the first steps would be for that? Especially because we're a remote firm at the moment. We are shopping for not looking to buy an office building, but and we'll throw that out there. Anybody in Columbus, if you want to give me a call, that's fine. But how would you, for a remote team, what's some advice you could give about creating culture?
Okay. Number one is, you as firm leaders and founders, you're setting the tone. So have your values established, right? Have your mission, vision, and values clearly agreed upon and established between the two of you. And make sure that as you're hiring or building a team, that everybody that you're hiring is in complete alignment with your values, and share those with them. One way, it's kind of interesting. I heard this recommendation in getting references. When you're checking references for somebody, you could always say, okay, these are my firm's values. Does someone, from your experience, would so-and-so, align with those values? Does that sound like a good match, right? That's one way of just trying to get a read on if it's the right person. You're hiring the person. Yes, there are skill sets that are involved. You certainly, with junior employees, you can absolutely train people and send them to classes and whatever, but it's that person who's got the willingness to do business development or excel in some other way, go the extra mile, who's not just punching the clock, right? Somebody who really wants to grow with your firm and contribute to the culture. Another thing is, don't be slow to let people go if they're toxic to your culture too. That's one thing that you don't really want to. You don't want to let that stew, right? And that goes along with the concept of not addressing conflict, right? Not wanting, so-and-so's our best drafter. She's our best production guy. How are we going to, we can't lose so-and-so, but that person is toxic. So everybody's replaceable, and a few people who are exhibiting bad behavior and poisoning the group need to not do that.
Well, and I think you touched on it, right? It's getting the right people in the right seats. If there is some issue with somebody, it's, again, like you said, communication and being upfront about it, and versus avoiding it is kind of a key thing. Otherwise, you're going to keep going down the road, and it's just going to be again and again and again. It's going to come up no matter how much you try to accommodate somebody. Some people just don't work well together, so it just depends, right?
I think we work great together, Paul.
I hope so.
Paul and I have known
otherwise
each other.
We have issues.
Paul and I have known each other for about 20 years now.
It's awesome. There are a lot of other ways, right? There's a lot of things that go into firm culture, and we could have a whole discussion about firm culture and leadership styles, because everybody approaches it a little bit differently. But one thing is sure, when it's working and when it's not working. And we often get calls from firms that are like, we can't seem to keep people, right? We can't, the minute we train somebody as a project manager, they leave. And, in the worst situations, the firm leaders don't realize that they're the reason why the employees are leaving, right? It's usually not about money. It's usually really does point to a leadership problem or a culture problem. Yeah. And if you solve that, you keep employees, right? So when people think that it's all touchy-feely talking about firm culture, it's like, no, there's actually a bottom line aspect to this, is you retain your most talented employees. Yeah. You build a really strong reputation as a firm people want to work for. You get the best people coming out of architecture school trying to work for your firm. You don't have those staffing issues.
So obviously with your clientele, you probably run into some leaders who fall into that category. That must be a difficult conversation. Do you guys, how would you handle that? Like, what's the leadership development strategy there?
Well, we have team members that are better at it than I am, so I'm not necessarily going to go too deep in there, because we do coach leaders, and we have a leadership dynamics offering where if, partners, so I'll back up a little bit. If firms come to us and there's clearly conflict, right? There's misalignment. We often interview principals individually or people on the leadership team individually to kind of get a sense of, we're not trying to stir the pot, but to get a sense of, how the relationship works, right?
Like I might not speak up on some issue if Nick is sitting right next to me.
He better not.
Everything's great. Everything's great. Nick, you're wonderful. Nothing's wrong. Nothing.
A lot of firms come to us and they say, we need a plan. We need a strategic plan, right? Like we can't make decisions about, we can't make decisions, or we're unclear about the next 5 years. And then, it's further conversation. It's like, yes, you need a strategic plan, but the first thing you need is to be in alignment as leaders of your firm. And you can be very different people, but agree to disagree on certain things, but there are more effective ways to handle differences, right? So often we blend our strategic planning offering with leadership dynamics. So we start off with a leadership team and try and get down to some of the root causes for differences or different ways of approaching things. And then we work with them on that. And then we begin the strategic planning process. And that tends to be much more effective once we've cleared the air a little bit, right, between the partners and in leadership, and people can really talk about their true intentions for the future of the firm, as opposed to having there be some kind of subterfuge there that nobody's really addressing. So
no, that makes total sense. Yeah.
I was gonna say, there was actually at the beginning of this conversation, like there was a colleague of ours that we were talking to. And, he went to the leadership team kind of raising the flag saying, hey, there's a problem here. He was a very high performing person in the firm. Everything was going great. And then when he brought his concerns to the leadership team, they're like, great, we're going to do something about it immediately.
And it died.
And then they got busy and, they're doing whatever. They're running to this meeting. They're running to that proposal. And a week went by and nothing had changed. And so at the end of that week, he's like, great, here's my notice. Right. So when you were saying like you see people leaving firms where, it's hard for them to retain people, and part of the problem might be, well, it's on the leadership side. Right. If they're not, hearing and nurturing these, talented individuals, then yeah, they might feel like they're being basically just pushed to the side. Their concerns are being pushed to the side. And all of a sudden it's like you have a notice where it's like, okay, that's it. I'm done, So, like, again, that story, as you were talking through some of that stuff a little bit ago, that story was kind of resonating in my head. So yeah. I've heard it many times as well from colleagues in the field.
Well, that's the conflict avoidance, but also slow decision making, and that's something we see a lot of, and that is a pretty big red flag for us when it takes. Often, even when it comes to the decision of whether they're not going to work with CVG or not, if it takes a year of courting, and it's fine, we'll do it, but it also indicates that there might be an issue with decision making, and where you see the negative effects of that are just like what you said, Paul, just about, we've got this super talented person that we've interviewed. We need to extend an offer. I got a meeting. I'll get to them next week. They're hired by somebody else. That's business moves at a certain pace, and decision-making has to happen that way. Or, we just don't know the salary. I'll deal with that next week. Or just what you said, you got to get back to somebody on a raise or on a performance review. And I don't know what to say yet. Let's just punt. That's when you lose key employees.
Yeah. And when you're a small firm, you have to prioritize. So you can't do architecture. You have to run the business in that regard.
Yeah, and that's something when very small firms come to us, and maybe a sole proprietor looking to hire the first few employees. One of the things we always say is, well, it's about growth. Do you really want to grow and run a business, where you're spending half of your time on the business and not doing architecture? Because that's what it takes to grow a firm. Or if you just love the craft, stay a sole proprietor and control which projects you take. You have much more control of the valve of work and your pipeline and how you do things if you don't have to manage other people. Either one is a completely valid choice, but go in with intention. If you're going to grow a firm, like, you're managing people.
Yeah, and you have to go in understanding that there's going to be a time commitment to that goal. You're not just gonna step into it and spend 5% of your time doing something. I mean, like you said 50%. So I mean, significant amount of your time is going to be devoted to that. And I didn't even know if getting into this, I had that number in my head. Maybe like a quarter, 25%, 50% is a large number. Half of your time.
There's two of you. Yeah. There's two of you as well, so that you're sharing those responsibilities. I just, as one person, I say about half your time. A quarter of your time should be spent on business development. So if you take a quarter of that time, business development, then running the business, then doing your architecture and managing clients.
This is so fun. I love it. I love the dynamics of all this and trying to figure everything out. The crazy thing is, it changes so much when you just add one more. When you're this small and you add one more person into the mix, it changes so much. And now I'm thinking, oh gosh, we need another 2 projects this month or whatever, and like, so it's a lot of things to figure out just by changing a little bit. So,
well, and it's funny. I don't know if it's like this in some other professions. I would imagine in certain like maybe dentistry or something like that. But I know in like architecture school, every architect is thinking like, oh, one day I'll have my own firm and I'll do this and I'll do that. So they have like grand aspirations of things, and I think some people just don't realize. Like you said, there's a whole lot to get into. Some of it can be fun, sure. But I mean, like, there's a whole nother world that you're diving into in order to run a firm, grow a firm,
And that's why you see these successful principals they've been doing it for 30 years, because in most cases, it takes a lifetime to figure out, how to do it right. And
unless you have a coach like Emily.
There you go. There you go.
Shucks. Oh, shucks. Sometimes we meet people that are honestly like best practice firms that are young. There was one firm that we spoke with this year that were, the principals were young, and they went from like 0 to 40 people in a matter of years, and they just had the right formula. They
Wow.
had the right, and it just, that's, that's the lightning in the bottle. You want to try and figure out how they're doing it and replicate that. But usually that comes down to leadership, and that comes down to a solid business development presence and program and dedication, and really clear firm values, and hiring the right people
When
and
you
building.
when you engage in a contract with your clients, do you give like an expectation on timeline? Is there like, we need to do this for a year, we need to do this for 6 months? Like, how does that work exactly?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because when we work in a few different ways. We can do a la carte services. We do a lot of ownership transition, leadership coaching, strategic planning, branding, all of this we can do a la carte. But where we really made our reputation for the past 10 years is what's called our investment partnership model, where a firm pays us a percentage of their net operating revenue. So it's a shared risk model. If they do great, we're doing great. If they do poorly one month, we're doing poorly that month. So we're both incentivized to improve the business. Some people prefer a retainer, that's fine. But either way, we work, and we're kind of all in. So you've got 22 of us. We all bring kind of different areas of expertise to the table. All of us have all of us have significant experience with architecture firms and business and different aspects of that. So we'll work with a firm, identify their issues, and morph around them to kind of customize a plan for growth and success, and say, okay, well, what does success look like for you in a year, in 5 years? What is a better version of yourself that we can help you kind of get to? And then we figure out, is it marketing work? Is it business development training? Or they have leadership problems? Usually it's all of the above. Financial, pricing, confusion around pricing or salaries, all of these things. We have a team that does that. So we kind of form a partnership with these firms that we get to know all the employees. We do interviewing and recruiting, and I shouldn't say recruiting. We're not, we don't go out like a full on recruiting firm. We screen candidates, we make recommendations for hiring, we write job descriptions. We help them shape their firm, right? Shape a successful firm. And a lot of that is coaching and advisory services. So we used to say 5 years, and we used to say a 5-year contract, and because that's how long it takes to make impactful change. And our goal is to work ourselves out of a job, so they internalize our recommendations and our voices, and then they don't need us anymore. Then we realized that every firm has a different kind of uptake on the work that we're doing together. Some firms really can get it in a year and make, we can make an impact in a year. Typically it's 3 to 5. Typically it's 3 to 5 years that really, as issues come up and we work together through all of the changing issues of growth.
Yeah.
That's about how long clients work with us, but we don't have a ironclad contract about how long that has to be. We don't want to work with anybody who doesn't want to work with us. We don't want to force anybody into a agreement with us that doesn't feel like, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit.
That's great. Yeah. For us, it's just coaching has been a part of my life recently, at least, for everything. So if I want to up my game in anything that I'm not an expert in, I want to hire somebody to get me there faster.
Oh, and I think like the delegation part of it, right? That mindset, Emily was talking about a little bit. It's like, again, you're trying to do everything yourself, and it's like you're not leaning on others that might have expertise in something, where it's like they can really offer you quite a bit of insight that might steer you in a better direction.
Well, if you're making dozens of decisions a day, at some point as a leader, you hit a wall and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be your best. You're not going to respond your best. And quite frankly, it's great to have a team to bounce these ideas off of and get a professional opinion.
Yeah, and I would say in my mind, it's like you don't have you don't have like Emily's experience or her team's experience. Like they've gone through years of stuff where they have a certain way of thinking about it and a certain insight into how things are running. So yeah, I mean, like, I would agree with you. Like, having some coach or some mentor or whatever it is, somebody to bounce ideas off of is super valuable. And it cannot be AI chat GPT, Nick.
I've been leaning on AI quite a bit lately. I will admit it.
Yeah.
One of the things we look for in clients is kind of coachability, right? Somebody who doesn't come in thinking they have all the answers. And, there are some egos in the architecture profession, and that's fine. That's to be understood. But there's often people come to us and, they're talking at us about pushing back on our advice and talking at us, about the way they do things and how, and that's usually a sign that we're probably not a great fit working together. And I'm sure that there are other coaches that would be better with that, with that approach. But we really, you can take or leave what we say. It's, there's nothing in our contract that says you have to listen to us, but at the same time, we are coming to this with lots of experience, having worked with lots of firms, having seen firms go through several similar challenges, seeing what works and what doesn't work. It's not one size fits all, but most of the problems we see aren't first time problems,
Right.
That's why they hire us,
Yeah. And I definitely love your approach that you mentioned where it's, essentially a partnership and you guys are in it together.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, places don't offer that necessarily. It's kind of like, oh, we're just giving you a service and whatever, you're like a number or line item on our spreadsheet here and we do this for you and that's it and we're good, So yeah, I definitely appreciate hearing some of that, from your side of things. So,
I mean, I agree too. And if we have a fantastic month, it might be hard to swallow that a larger share. But at the same time, if we have bad months, it happens. And that can sometimes save a business, right? It could save payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, also, when we are asked for a menu of services, we can pretty clearly say, financial management, marketing, business development, ownership transition, all the things. But there's so much that, we do that's not on the menu, as partners. Like for example, one of our partner firms had a fire in their office and lost a lot of important drawings. And the insurance company came back with a number that was not acceptable. And our team worked to fight the insurance company and get a better number for them. I mean, we're just going to put that in the contract, right? We're not lawyers, but we knew how to quantify the work, and we were able to take that off of their plates and help them, navigate that situation. So that's where being a partner comes in, right? Like we have friendships with our clients. They go through personal things. They go through deaths and divorces and losing favorite employees and partnership and ownership expansion and leadership. All these things are personal things, right? Running a business is personal. Certainly running a small business is extra personal. So you need to have a relationship with a consultant like that who can help get you through some of those life hurdles, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think again, like relationships just in general, like across the board, be it with some coaching or your staff or whatever it is. I mean, it's an invaluable thing that I think people don't realize how powerful it can be.
Well, that really resonates with me, everything you just said, because now that our projects are now we're having some really exciting, like luxury homes, commercial retail. We're starting to get in some of the stuff that we wanted to draw for years. And we have a lot of fantastic clients, but the best projects are always when we have
the best clients.
When we build
that's part of it.
When we build a relationship with somebody,
relationship,
and all parties involved care about the project and having it be the best possible outcome, period.
Yeah, the relationship is the foundation for the work, and the work comes kind of naturally almost, you're right, because you have such a good relationship and rapport with the person. It's not like you're just other people offering services. You're not just providing a service and checking the box, So yeah, I think you're right. Like our best projects are typically with the best relationships that we have with the clients.
I think putting it simply is, yes, lean on us for drawings and code and all the things that we're professionals at, but like collaboration and great communication with your clients always yield better results on the project itself, and it's just so much better.
Yeah. Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that. It's about relationships, and a lot of people look at architecture and it's all about design. It's really about relationships. It's about relationships with your team, collaboration, and your clients. And design often comes second, depending on what kind of firm you work in, but or want to build for yourself, for that matter. But
right.
Yeah, relationships.
Wow, that's so good. I'm going to think about that for a while.
I was thinking of another story about, what we do and how it's kind of helping to improve work-life balance. We had a very talented client who really ran the show at his firm, and he wanted to go on paternity leave. And he was just, beside himself about how can I do this? How can I leave for a month and really truly check out so I can enjoy this experience? And we helped, build the team. We obviously had advance notice. So we helped work with the team to figure out roles and responsibilities and who's going to do what while he was away. And it worked out. And not only did it work out for that month, but it was a really good education in, delegation, in trust, and allowing people to step up. And we were also there to coach throughout, so that he knew that they could call us if they, had some questions about non-architecture things. But anyway, just helping people achieve that ideal work-life balance, or at least improve it, right?
Yeah.
So all the things that keep you up at night, maybe we cut that in half.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I think that's a great goal to have.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get him to stop thinking at 10 o'clock at night.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but at least I'll feel better about it.
Yeah.
Well, we're approaching our time here, but I wanted just to ask you if you were to leave us with any advice, anything you want to say to the world or potential clients of yours, what would be what would that be? And then what would that be?
One thing. Oh my goodness.
It can be something that's a little more broad and doesn't have to be like one specific thing. Yeah.
Well, I think we got to it before, because this has to do with design and with marketing and business development and everything, is that it's not about you. It's really the minute you turn the lens and have it be about your clients, you're speaking differently, you're presenting differently, you're having different communications and relationships, and you're really differentiating yourself from many other design firms that really only think it's about us. This is how we design. This is our approach. We're so collaborative, but they're not engaging the client. They're not speaking to their client's needs. So I think it's not just marketing language. I think that's language in general around client relations.
That's great. Where can our listeners find you?
Well, we're at charrettevg.com, charrettevg.com. And we love to do free consultations. It's like half hour. There's several different links on our website that can get you on my calendar for a half hour, or you can email me directly, Emily at charrettevg.com. I'm sure it'll be in the podcast notes.
Yep.
I'm happy to speak with anybody about any issues they have with their firm. We also offer assessments, which is a more in-depth look under the hood to help analyze your whole performance and benchmark you against other firms your size. So a lot of firms like to engage us for that, which is kind of like an audit. They get a sense of how their firm is performing. So you can talk to me about that too.
Yeah. And of course, you'll also be at next year's AIA as well.
Yeah, we will. We'll be at the ASLA in New Orleans, and we're all over the place this fall. We are really, if you go to a regional conference, you're probably going to find one of us. But yeah.
That's great. This has been so much fun, and it actually has answered some more questions, because as a small firm, we're always like, where do we put the money for the next thing to grow the firm? So yeah.
Well, and from day one, this podcast was always about not just architecture, but investment, and there's other things that come into play. And yeah, it was great to have a conversation about something that's not just like design focused today.
Yeah, I agree. Emily, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.